Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Media 44. So, I want to revise what I said about the Boston Celtics before in the previous video. They have Al Horford. If I'm not mistaken, they went back and got Al Horford from the Oklahoma City in exchange for Kemba Walker and whatever else was going on in that deal. So, if I'm not mistaken, that revises just about everything I said about the Celtics in regards to what they're doing with their roster. They are a defensive roster. They are focusing solely on the defensive side of the ball. That's what it seems like to me. When picking up Josh Richardson, they got Dunn, they got Smart, Tom Lord. Uh, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, they're not really looking at the scoring side of the ball. They believe that probably Tatum, Brown, um, and Fournier can probably take care of most of their scoring. They're looking at the defensive side of the ball. That's what they're doing. It seems like the Celtics are trying to mold themselves into a full-on lock you down defensive team, anchored by Williams, Time Lord. Um, I just wish they would have saw the fruit in keeping Moses Brown involved in that, even though they have, uh, Al Horford, because I think that trio would help you with insurance for all of them. Time Lord had some injury issues. We know Al Horford's a little long in the tooth. Moses Brown would have stayed right there steady, playing at 5 and at 4. But I understand maybe moving on from him. Maybe they want to look at a guy like Kelly Olynyk, who's played for the Boston Celtics before. He's a free agent now. I don't know what their situation is, but he can go back and forth between the 3 and the 4. Him and Al Horford would give you a hell of a tandem of shooting bigs. That I like the idea of that. So I'm trying to figure out what the Celtics are doing. They're going to need to get a facilitator. If they don't find a facilitator, they're going to look like a little like they're going to look a little like the Clippers before Rondo got there. That's how the Celtics are going to look. Now I know I don't want to downplay Pritchard's ability. He may be able to step in second year or two. He may be able to take a leap. I don't want to downplay Marcus Smart's ability to get assists. He's a really good facilitator when he puts his mind to it. He can help facilitate an offense. But he's never been asked to do that. Most of the time, the Celtics have had point guards in place that kind of just make it so that Marcus Smart can kind of fall into a role that allows him to focus more so on the defensive side of the ball, and whatever else he gives you on the offensive end is just kind of extra. His offensive game is getting better. His shot selection is getting better. His shooting selection is getting better. So I do believe that Marcus Smart is ready to start in this league. I just don't know if I want him to start at point guard for me. So if he is indeed slipping into that starting role, I expect career numbers from him, and maybe even better than that. He might be able to work himself into some accolades of some sort. I'm not ready to say he's going to be an all-star, but maybe an all-defensive player or something if he gets a full spectrum of minutes for the first time in his career. So that's pretty exciting for him if they don't get a point guard, because that's a role I never thought they would give to him. But as well as he has played over the last couple of years, I think he's been working himself into a position where he's ready to get a better role, and he stayed with the Celtics throughout all these issues that they've had, throughout all these point guards that they've had. So I really do believe that if given that role, he may be able to shine, especially if they're focusing on the defensive side of the ball, which it looks like they're doing. So a lot of shots for Jason Tatum, a lot of shots for Evan Fournier, a lot of shots for Jaylen Brown. I'm wondering if they're going to trade Jaylen Brown. I think it's actually a slight possibility they do that deal for Bradley Beal if Bradley Beal changes his mind, which was going to bring me to my next statement, the next topic of what I was going to bring to you. Segueing away from the Celtics into the Wizards. The Wizards now do not want Dennis Schroeder, and it looks like Bradley Beal wants to stay. He doesn't mind being a part of the rebuild, apparently. He doesn't mind giving it at least another year to see what these new guys can do and see if he can lead them to the playoffs. And like I said, you guys, about the Wizards, they really are doing things the right way. So let's say you don't care about that and you just love staying home. It's not like looking forward, you can't see them getting better. From this point forward, the Wizards are going to get better. And I don't think that since Bradley Beal is the only star, he's the only star making massive money, there should be no reason why he can't get somebody to come play with him eventually, or maybe they can trade for a guy who's maybe a big star at some point. So I like the situation they have. They look more so like a light at the end of the tunnel in terms of their rebuild than maybe some of the other teams that are out there that might have a little more talent than them. So if I'm Bradley Beal, hey, I maybe listen to everybody say you can't win there, but if I just want to be a legacy act in a city that loves me, um, the second half of my tenure there looks like it's going to be better than the first. That's what I will say. That's what I honestly say about that. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to see, but I look at this from a GM's perspective. That's a really good position they're in. So long as they have their picks. I don't know if they do, but I think they do. So if they have their picks, they should be fine. So that's one aspect of it. Another thing we could talk about is the Lakers, of course. I've made videos on them a lot lately because, quite frankly, they are the most interesting team in the league right now, being that they have to try to build around Westbrook, Braun, and AD. And, of course, that's my team, so we're going to talk about them. It looks like the DeMar DeRozan, Rudy Gay, and what was that third name, man? Carmelo Anthony. They are all looking at possibly agreeing to take a pay cut and come here for the mid-level exception. All three of them. So here's the thing, though. Rudy Gay is going to be a real good player to have stretch the floor. I trust him from behind the arc. He's a veteran right now, so he slips right in. He has had some injury issues in the past, but he's looked pretty good for the last couple seasons, and he's settled into a role where he was really just kind of a complimentary guy on a team full of players just like him. So he wasn't really asked to stand out at all in San Antonio. In fact, they had a bunch of young guys that kind of made it so that it kind of prolonged his career in a way, in my opinion. Plus DeMar DeRozan. It was just a bunch of players in that same position. So now that he comes here, he's a bit more needed. His role is going to be bigger. And I think that a guy like Rudy Gay is going to fit in quite a bit because we're going to need him to be the shooter that the other guys simply aren't. So I look at him and say he's going to be probably our starting small forward or something like that if we sign Rudy Gay. Even though we're getting all these other guys, I can totally see at some point in time we say, okay, that's the best shooter of them all. Carmelo Anthony's a player that I think is coming off the bench at this point, but he's going to be one of the more important players on our team if we get him. We're going to need him to score a lot and stretch the floor and hit threes too, because he's also one of the guys who we're going to be looking to make those 3-point shots. And as far as DeMar DeRozan, I just think that's a long shot. I know he wants it. I know that at that discount, you crazy not to pick him up. You're absolutely insane not to pick him up. But I think you run the risk if you're DeMar DeRozan to, and I know this is going to sound kind of crazy to y'all, but he runs the risk of not finishing the season with his team. I think that if things start to go south, he's going to be the piece that gets moved. So, you know what I mean? Because he's going to be the one with the most value. He's going to be the one on the lowest contract with that value, which is going to be golden around the league. And ultimately, it would be him that we can kind of move to get a shooter if for some reason our shooting woes are so horrible. We don't need what he does. He's a facilitator in a way. We'll already have that in Braun and AD. He's a mid-range shooter. We can use that, but we more so need threes. So if for some reason it doesn't work out, I'm worried that if he gets here, we'll trade him at the deadline, and he'll probably find himself somewhere where he can't win, and we'll move on into the sunset. So I just worry about DeMar DeRozan wanting to be here. You are too valuable of a piece to take that contract. You know, you are bait for other GMs once you do that. And I don't think players really look at it like that sometimes. They don't really realize that, I don't fit on this team necessarily, and I'm about to sign a contract that's going to be easily movable. Bro, you might find yourself on the Kings, back on the Wizards. You'll find yourself somewhere you do not necessarily want to find yourself. Signing with the Lakers and things going left. So you would have to hit your threes. And that's not your game. This is not your game. It would make so much sense for the Lakers to trade you at the deadline, honestly. And that's just not right. That's not right. But the Lakers may do this. We are a team that wants to bring the best players in the world to this roster. Magic said that when he first got here, they wasn't kidding. Clearly, as you can see with the names on this roster, we were serious. And I'd imagine guys don't want to be here, especially guys who see themselves going into a different role in their career going forward. A guy like DeMar DeRozan knows that he has only a couple more years being an all-star, then it's time to be a role player. So he probably just wants to jump into that role early. And I can see where the fruit in doing that in a way, but he's too productive for that role. So, yeah, I just hope it doesn't bite him in the backside if he does it. And, the thing about it is the Lakers are not they're not shisty like that with everybody. I don't see them doing something like that unless it's absolutely necessary. But the thing is the deals that we would get because his contract is so pretty, we might actually be able to get us a first round pick or something if we trade him, like a pick and a player. I could see us getting him, especially if he's playing well. I don't know, but if he's playing well, you probably don't want to trade him. So it is what it is. Either way, I'm looking at that Lakers situation. I'm just saying, well, it's great that we have a plethora of players that want to play here. Patty Mills is also somebody we're looking at seriously. Alec Burks, somebody we're looking at very seriously. So those are the names I've been hearing the most of over the last, say, couple hours. So that's what we're looking at there. What else? There was something else that happened. I think I forgot to tell y'all. I didn't mention it. Some type of trade. I did get around to telling y'all Landry Shamet ended up being a Sun. That happened. Josh Richardson ended up in Boston. So yeah, I guess that's about enough. It's like, that's what it was. John Collins is going to agree to re-sign with the Hawks. They're not losing John Collins. And I didn't know that Onyeka Okongwu is going to be missing 6 months. He had shoulder surgery. So that whole thing that I went on about they need to let Okongwu have that role, well, that's going to have to wait until January or February. And that's going to be all right because they have John Collins back. So I think the Hawks are going to be just as good, if not better, next year. They are shopping Cam Reddish. I heard that the Pacers had some interest. We'll see if something like that actually happens. And so on and so forth. So, as I hear things, I'll bring them to you. Thank you guys for watching. My name is BDF44, and I'm out.